I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, June the 4th, brought to you in part by Primetime Livestock Video by Joplin Regional Stockyards. They've got a sale here today on Thursday, starts at 1 o'clock, having 7,000 or 8,000 head of cattle on there. You can go to dvauction.com and view and bid that sale, or go to primetimelivestockvideo.com, get to the same console. So be sure and tune into that and check out and see what they have. You might want to bid on some of those cattle. The stock market was up on Wednesday amid the ruins from all the rioting and not really the protesters. The protesters aren't tearing things up or burning things down, but the people that are seeking out violence amid the protesters are sure doing a lot of it, and everybody sure wants to protect them. But the stock market back up over 26,000, up 500 and some points on Wednesday there. And you think, my gosh, are people that optimistic about things when everything looks so crappy around? But I think what it is more than anything, if you're watching thousands of those people protesting in the streets and throwing rocks and bottles and just raising all kinds of hell, it's going to be a little bit hypocritical whenever we finally get this crap over with to be social distancing a whole lot. And you know, you can't open up a restaurant and let people come in and do business, but you can bash through the windows and ransack the place. I don't think so. So I think the stock market's looking at things and thinking, whenever we do get all this rioting stopped and get these people calmed down and quit acting like animals, I think we're going to open wide. And it may have been one thing to make it do that, because the way we were looking before, you know, open up 25% and then maybe 50% back to 25. Who knew when we were going to open up? But when you've got thousands of people screaming and yelling and sweating all over each other, protesting in the streets, I don't see how they're going to enforce any kind of rules on this COVID-19 deal. If you guys can even remember that, they don't even talk about it anymore. But let's talk about what else went out on Wednesday. We got word in a Wall Street Journal article that was out online anyway, that chief executives from Pilgrim's Pride Chicken were indicted on price fixing and rigged bids. So, you know, collusion and unfair trade practices there. And you think, Pilgrim's Pride, who's that? That's our good Brazilian friends down there. JBS owns Pilgrim's Pride, and we know that they're all on the up and up. You know, they never would jack with the hot scales or anything in one of their beef plants or pay off inspectors or anything like that. But they're crooked from top to bottom. And now the chicken industry has gotten to the bottom of this and has indicted them, and they're likely going to get some pretty stiff fines, you know, and they've got a couple of the executives named individually, and who knows what kind of trouble they'll get into. You know, this is similar to what the tuna industry had here just a few years ago. They were able to do the same type of thing with their suppliers were you know, price fixing and gouging and holding up prices artificially and things like that. And yet us cattle people, we can't get anything done about this. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it's because our main association caters to the packing plants and then pretends to speak for the cattlemen too, but you know, they can't hardly do both. It's a conflict of interest. So we're going to have to get together around that and push against it and try to get something done. We know they're guilty. We know it. Any fool can look at it, you know, and I've said on here before, all you have to do is look at some of the graphs and some of the data on how they took choice box beef values from 207 before the coronavirus still really hit to 478, and they kept the fat cattle market they're pretty much the same. So they kept all that money in there. What was causing them to have to charge that much? And it's not a negotiated price. Those box beef cutout values are not negotiated. Those are set prices, and then those people that want to purchase, they just purchase whatever volumes they want at the different prices. And if they think it's too high, then they won't do it. That's what you've seen here the last couple of weeks. They've just been backing off of what they buy, and your packers are wanting to continue to move that, so they're lowering the price. But, you know, and when you look at that data, you look at those graphs when they go straight up right during our pandemic crisis and everything, you know, it's kind of like pornography. I don't know what the definition of it is, but I know it when I see it. And I see price gouging, and it all came about through price fixing, unfair trade practices, collusion, whatever you want to call it. But we know they're guilty. You know, even the president has asked for an investigation here, and I'm not sure why they're so scared to call them out on it. But we haven't heard a peep out of any of this investigation stuff. But I'll be surprised if much comes out of it. But gosh, we'd like to see them at least have to come out in media, so similar to the way that Pilgrim's Pride has. You know, that's embarrassing to come out in the Wall Street Journal and have an article written about you that says you're being indicted on price fixing and rigged bids. We would like to just simply see something like that. It may shame them into doing some more of this charity work like they've been doing the last 6 weeks here or so. But let's look at the board on Wednesday. June live cattle futures up 15 cents at 95.45. August up $1.15 at 97.35. You go on out from there on your live cattle. And yes, I was right on there. Your August is nearly $2 higher than your June live cattle. Makes absolutely no sense. But most of the people that are trading in those live cattle contracts are, especially on the long side, they have no clue about what's going on. It's some investors in there with fund money doing that. It doesn't make any sense. None of this cattle deal makes any fundamental sense right now. We're kind of glad that it doesn't, because if it did, these fat cattle wouldn't be bringing near as much, and your feeders wouldn't be either. But yeah, your August live cattle contracts almost $2 higher than June, which makes no sense, because we know about all those hippopotamuses and rhinoceroses that are going to be coming down the alley on shipping day here when we get late in the summer. And there's lots of them, guys. You're going out front to your out front months on your live cattle contracts, down a dime to up 52 cents, so not too wild. Your feeder cattle contracts were consistently higher, and not crazy all over the place, but nice consistent gains, and I'm surprised how we're continuing to add price point to your feeder cattle too, whenever we know how shaky things are on your live cattle. But we'll ride it as long as we can. You guys get the opportunity to sell those yearlings off grass or sell some fall calves, you take it, okay? August feeder cattle up 80 cents at 134.22. September up 87 cents at 135.77. Going out from there, up 77 to up 90. See how consistent it was, and all kind of nice gains there. Your fat cattle trade, we had a weighted average, or a week-to-date total, a week-to-date total of negotiated trade in your 5-area feeding region just for Monday and Tuesday of 34,000 head. They're continuing to buy those cattle because they're cheaper than the formula cattle, and so they're buying them, and they're back buying them again. But they're inching this market down a little bit. There's still a little bit of charity going on out there. They will give some 185 top dress price here and there. They will give some 117 here and there. But if they go into a feedlot or they call into one, they're likely just going to take one pin. And then they go to the next lot and maybe give them one. They're just spreading it around. They're not swinging the gates and buying all the cattle at the top of the market. In fact, a lot of those bigger bunches of cattle or multiple pins are selling down there around that 110. And so it's going to be significantly lower this week, especially when we get our weighted averages the first part of next week on this. But look at your confirmed trade on Wednesday. Iowa had 6,900. This is in addition to the 34,000 we already saw on Monday and Tuesday, but Iowa 6,900. All the live sales at $1.10. Dress sales from 175 to 185. Nebraska, almost 20,000 on Wednesday in Nebraska. 19,700 head. 109 to 117, and that weighted average was about square in the middle there, guys, for Wednesday's movement anyway. Nebraska dress sales 173 to 185. That 185 is $5 lower on the top side. Remember, they were getting a little token 190 last week. Kansas 8,500 head from 109 to 117. What a wide price spread there, middle of the week in Kansas there. Most everything live from 109 to 117. A little bit of dress trade at 185, excuse me. Texas 4,200 head from 110.5 to 117. Box beef cutout values continuing to fall in bunches, and at this rate, here in about a week, probably middle part of next week, if it continues to go down at the rate it is, it's going to be back where it was before this coronavirus started. And if you think they're still going to hand out those charity bids, I would be very surprised. I think they'll probably try to get things back in line with what they normally would be. But choice cuts on Wednesday, $295.90, under $3 a pound on choice cuts for the first time since April the 27th. But that was down $22.83. Select was down $13.80 at $276.78. Just a moderate movement there, 141 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter, I tell you what, we're getting closer and closer to normal every day. While people are rioting and pillaging in the streets and nobody's talking about this coronavirus, suddenly people aren't being as sick. They're not doing quite as much wild testing. And so when you aren't testing quite as much, you're not getting as many positives. People may be carriers. They don't know they have it. They're not sick. They're coming to work. Other people aren't getting sick as much as they were. It's evident that this virus is weakening as we get into these warmer temperatures. And we've got to have some herd immunity eventually, guys. And I think that's what we're seeing. Like I said, I doubt they're going to be able to strap us down again after they get all those rioters herded up and put back in their pens. But slaughter, 340,000 through Wednesday. Hey, that's averaging well over 100,000 a day. On Wednesday, it was 114,000. That's getting scary close to normal, guys. But that 340,000 was just 20,000 back of the same week a year ago. Real-time index on DV auction late on Wednesday at 129.01, up 61 cents, and we had some high volume sales there. I'm going to give you several quotes there, but we continue to see big runs, a lot bigger than the same weeks a year ago. But you look at OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma, 10,400 head. You know, we had quite a few more than that at Oklahoma National Stockyards on Monday, but they didn't have a sale the Monday before because of Memorial Day. But that 10,400 for Tuesday and Wednesday in El Reno, that is huge. Compare that to the same week a year ago, 1,800 head. So we're catching up fast on these feeder cattle. We're not going to be able to catch up on these fat cattle as fast as we are these feeder cattle. And I'm just grateful that we're able to keep these prices as good as we are here and getting rid of a lot of cattle because they needed to go somewhere. These graze out wheat pastures are bare. Feeder steers, $2 to $3 higher in El Reno. Feeder heifers were steady. The calves on Tuesday had a lower undertone but not really well tested. But look at this one string of steers at El Reno there. My goodness, 118 head, 759-pound steers with an attractive flesh condition. Cattle pretty green and not too fleshy there. But the 118 head, 759 bring $141. Wow. Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock, 2,600 head there. Feeder steers steady to $3 higher. A lighter test of calves steady to $2 lower there in Dodge City, but a pretty decent sale there. How about South Central Regional Stockyards, Vienna, Missouri? That's my good buddy David Patton there and his family. And man, did they have a good sale. And you know, a guy told me one time they'll have fancy weaned steer calves and heifer calves too, but they'll have cattle when nobody else has the cattle that you're looking for. They'll have those light calves. And my gosh, did they have them. Look at this string of light calves. 84 head, 505-pound fancy little steers bring $167.50. They had another string I guess was probably off of them. 111 head, weighed 561 at 161.50. And David has promised me a ride on his boat at Lake of the Ozarks, and I'm taking him up on it this summer. And David, you owe me, because I gave you VIP at Remington horse races there last year, if you remember right. You and Jimmy Craig got to come down there, and you guys got to do me right now, so remember that. But how about some sales in Kansas that we've never talked about before? I'm always actively trying to find more and more sales. If you know of a good sale with honest cattle, and they got a fair market there, a competitive market, we want to get them on our system. We're trying to get as much volume as we can in there to help our real-time index, to help all these real-time prices, to put them on our National Beef Wire TV screen that we're putting up all over the country. Actively looking for them all the time. I talked to them at Winfield, Kansas, at Winfield Livestock Auction. Been working on trying to get them to do it. Now you got to get those computer programmers to get things lined up, and it's not that big a deal to do it. Getting them to do it sometimes takes a little bit of doing. But we got some information out of Winfield, Kansas here on Wednesday. 65 head, 778 pound steers. Winfield Livestock Auction, 131.60 and 160, and we're proud to be carrying their market there. Another one that we're working on, but I had to get it the old-fashioned way through text, was Parsons, Kansas, at Parsons Livestock Auction. We're going to get things lined up and get them on there too, but I had to give you a string of their sales there. 137 head of mixed steers, weighed 709 in Parsons, bring 146.35. But the best quote that I saw anywhere come from Nebraska, up at Creighton Livestock Market. 199 head of string of big steers, weighed 904 and bring 132.50. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.